tired. There's too much gyan that's going to be coming in this one. I'm sorry. For everybody who knows me, hello again. For everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Prasad Sunder. I lead music creative and production at Netflix. And I'm also the production solutions point of contact for all of Asia Pacific, which means I handle all the way from India till Australia. I've been in Netflix for just about 5 years now. 5 years in Netflix is what we call as dinosaurs. And dinosaurs under pressure is what we call as fossil fuels. So you can consider me being a fossil fuel in Netflix. I started off in Netflix in 2019, January 2nd. So 5 years is going to be in January 2nd of 2023. Why am I here? We're going to be talking about such a very interesting topic because this was something that nobody ever spoke about when I started out here. I used to be in post-production in Netflix before I came into music, right? And a big part of questions that happened during post-production for me was solving for music, right? What does solving for music mean? Anybody? I want to open it up for questions. I want to have it as an interactive session. So please feel free to ask questions or whatever, stop me. If I want to take it later, I'll definitely open it up and say I'll take it later. But of course, otherwise, what do you think is solving for music mean in content? Clearing track licenses? Okay. Oh, great. Making sure what you're seeing has context. Brilliant way to do it. So let's test you guys out, right? I'm going to play a quick track. I would love for anybody but the Netflix supervisors and my team to guess which track this is. Anybody who gets, I'll have a separate session with you after this. Don't Shazam it. Don't Shazam it. Any guesses? कितने बार शज़ाम किया? हाँ, ठीक है. It's Gen Hoshino. I like your honesty. Thank you so much, David. It's Gen Hoshino. He's a J-pop artist. Have you guys heard of J-pop? Yeah? We have now K-pop. Now there was J-pop. But then nobody hears about this artist because we are always constrained to what we're listening to over here all the time, aren't we? We're listening to the stuff that's coming out of our country alone. A big part of what I'm going to be talking about today is about critical listening. What does critical listening entail? What does it mean to be a music supervisor? What does it mean to be a music editor? Music editor is not the same as music editorial in Spotify or JioSaavn or something else. It's not the same as editorial in publishing there. This is actual technical and creative skill that people can develop. Cool? So without ado, I'm going to be walking to my thing because I don't have a clicker. I'm going to talk about my dream team. I'm very excited about these guys. We have Divya Ramani. Divya, put your hand up. A little bit of context about Divya is a very renowned playback artist. She sang for all the South Indians out here. She sang Manasila Surakate in the movie Cuckoo, which is trending more than 10 million streams right now, right? She's a Carnatic genius, and yeah, she's excellent in deconstructing things that can be done very quickly, right? And then we have Rahul Kannan. Many of you know him from Herd, you know. I unfortunately broke the company and hired one of them inside and got them into work on the dark side. But another interesting thing about him is that he's a great singer-songwriter, right? And formerly known for Herd Publishing, but he's also a great composer and a songwriter. So that's something that we focused on when we were looking for candidates. The third person, I actually want to call this event as AAB, all about Bhavani, because she knows every other person who I've met out there. Because Bhavani Arumbakam is somebody who's been there, who's literally connecting with everybody out there. And Bhavani comes, you know, if we want to know what is the current trend, we go and talk to Bhavani. Bhavani, you can hide an embarrassment later, but that's the truth. She is the pop culture reference for Netflix India. Now, there is more, and I'm going to be introducing a few more people as and when we talk about this, and I'm going to be showing some cool pictures later. But the matter of fact is we'll be talking a lot more about who the people who we work with, of course. And then you have this guy. Sorry, that was supposed to be me on this side, but I thought it was up there. Yeah, my name is Prasad Sunder again. I have been a composer. I've been a composer for 17 years of my life. I come from Los Angeles. I was moved for this job about 5 years ago. And I'll tell you a little bit of my past. I was born in Chennai, and I am a proper Tambram boy who was initiated into Carnatic music by my mother. And she's a gold medalist from Kalakshetra. And my two aunts are all India radio artists. Kind of classical music was a part of our ecosystem as and when we started. So every single day it was them teaching somebody else and me not doing my math problems properly and listening to them and trying to learn what they're trying to teach. So I ended up learning a lot of Carnatic and classical music when I was growing up. I performed in bands. One of the bands that I performed is Oxygen, that was there. The owner of Oxygen was here yesterday. I used to be a part of a bunch of bands in Chennai, ran a couple of bands by myself, all the great stuff. And I have 2 masters in music composition. The first one is from NYU and for films and TV. The second master's is music composition in AR, VR, and video games. Just because. Tambram boys, bro. Like, you either become a doctor or you go do something better. My dad didn't give me an option. You have to get 2 masters. 2, not 1, 2, always 2. So I ended up working in the East Coast and West Coast at the same time. Some of the people that I worked with, anybody know the name? This is Zimmer's studio. I used to be a part of Hans Zimmer's camp at Remote Control Studios, and one of my first projects that I ever did were these. If you have seen The Dark Knight, the opening sequence where Heath Ledger walks in, that piece of music is mine. Interstellar, the wormhole sequence where they jump into the other world, that is my music again. So I ended up composing quite a lot in Remote Control Studios, apart from the fact that, I tend to explore a lot in the music tech side of things. And then I decided one day that isse nahi chalega, kyunki idhar to kuch paisa nahi de rahe, bahar chalte hain kahin pe. And then I ended up leaving, and there was another composer at that point of time who was very kind and reached out to me saying, I'm doing a very small series, very, very small series about a book. Would you be interested in being a ghost composer? And I insist on the word saying ghost composers. And I was like, chalo, paisa aa raha hai, why not do it? And then it ended up being that. So I'm one of the people who's responsible for the theme of Game of Thrones. It was me, Chris, and Ramin who came up with the theme of Game of Thrones. People in the back, if you want seats, there are seats in the front. Feel free to come forward and sit down. Apart from this, any composers here? Any musicians who use a lot of... Oh, great, amazing, look at that. So you will get a kick out of this. I worked in both these companies. Do you know what these are? Now, do you want to guess which products I worked on? All these products have my name on them. I've been the core guy who's developed these products. You've used these in your compositions. I've been fortunate to work with some of the brightest minds around the world. This is the part which is called as music tech that I learned as and when I grew up. Now, how many of you used Arcade very recently? Great. Have you used the Indian loops in Arcade? The voice of the Indian loop is the Kunakol artist called Ramana in Chennai. The mridangist is Akshay, and there's a Ganjira player called Sunil. 3 of them, they were sampled in Chennai, and now they're global. That's the power of what these VSTs could do for musicians around the world. So then what am I doing here, right? I've done all these things in my past, and what am I doing here now suddenly? Anybody taking wild guesses? No? Okay. What is music creative in production? What do we do at Netflix? So let's remember the simple formula, very simple formula, MCP, not the male chauvinistic part. This is music creative in production. This is equal to creative plus production plus or minus curation. Does it make sense? Anybody? Any questions so far? So let's talk about what does a music creative mean versus what is music production versus what is music curation, right? Music creatives are people who actually get involved into the creative process of the song or the score or whatever it is, right? Which means you're either writing lyrics or you're actually guiding how the musician should be played, who should be hired, how should we go about it, what is the song looking like, or what is the score looking like. The actual core of the creative process is what is music creative, right? Music production, on the other side, is where you understand the aspects of what production entails, which means what are the hard costs, budgets, timelines, schedules. You know what hard costs are? Anybody? I'm going to be surprised if somebody says yes. Hard costs are the costs that are associated with orchestral recording. Alec, you do. Hard costs are actually a term that is used towards orchestral recording, right? So if you're recording somebody, maybe outside India, the first thing that is, what are the hard costs? Remember that term. But MCP India is a little bit more than creative production and curation. Of course, we know what curation is, right? Do I have to go through what curation is? Pretty much anybody who has a great ear putting together some of the best songs to be presented to somebody. That's curation. Music creative and production in India is a lot more than these things, because I'm going to talk about what we also cover as part of what you guys might be able to do in the near future. These are the workflows in music. When I started this music creative and production in 2021, am I right? Yeah, September 1st, 2021 is when I started this in India, in Netflix. And we decided that it's very difficult as an ecosystem, because there is pockets of conversations and everything goes back to a music director. There is no clear-cut ownership. There is no clear-cut responsibility, accountability, none of these things, right? So maybe you will understand this particular diagram very quickly. You guys are familiar with this, right? Yes, no, maybe? Does it seem familiar? But what is missing in this? What happens when you go through this? Which means your director or showrunner usually goes to a music director, and then they deliver the songs and score. Fundamentally, directors don't think about licensing. Why do we need a POC for music? Koi EP to kar lega. Koi to hai na. There's somebody in the production who will run point. And then what happens then? One-stop shop for all music careers goes to your musicians and the composers who are there. Am I right? Disagree if I'm wrong. It's fine. But then what happens in this is very important piece. This happens. Right? Because everything is crunched to one person, your timelines, budgets, communication, responsibility, accountability. That sounds too corporate, right? Very corporate, right? So, that's what's happened, fundamentally. End of day, what is the term? It is. You guys get squished to corners of the world where you're really burning yourself out to the last minute for you to be able to deliver something phenomenal. Again, people who are standing in the back, there are some seats in the front, feel free to come forward. This gave birth to phase 1 of the 2 phases that we've implemented in Netflix so far. Can you get what phase 1 is? Okay. Sorry? Music supervision. We wanted musically inclined project managers to be a part of it. Musically inclined money, we wanted people who actually understood music to a large level, which means you can read music, write music, be a musician at some capacity to be a part of our ecosystem. So we started redrawing that first diagram into this. The director showrunner starts talking to the music supervisor directly, right? As your project manager. Then you have your score composer. Now in Netflix, we have started to split the entire thing between score and songs separately. Because we found that efficiently, a person who's doing something dedicatedly will be able to give the best of what they can than everybody being put into one khichdi, right? So we started understanding that score composers are very important as score composers, and then you have your song producers who are very good at creating songs. Fair enough? What happens is these guys talk to each other at a creative and an operational level. And I'll talk about what these mean also, right? Eventually, the music supervisor will get deliveries of background scores and original songs back to them, and it all comes down to final deliverables, your songs, your score, contracts, agreements, cue sheet, what else and what not. But somebody tell me, what am I missing here? What am I missing in this? Anybody? Sorry? Budget to hai yaar. कंपोजर तो है यार, इधर दोनों तो लोग ना है ना. You're missing sync licensing. You're absolutely right. Production legal, which is your people who will work with the music supervisors for the legalities of things, working with record labels, working with independent artists. Your music supervisors are your gateway for all you independent people out there. They're your gateway to get into Netflix. There's your answer. For any of you who want to pitch something to Netflix, go to the music supervisor. Have a chat with them. See what you have to bring forth. What the beauty is that the music supervisors know what we are looking at. What kind of content are we working on? What kind of flavors do we like? So eventually, your credibility is proved to them, and they bring your credibility as part of us. Is this enough? Are we good with this? Absolutely not. We are not good with this. The reason why is we found the more and more we started working with just music supervisors, we found there were more and more problems that came out. With every opportunity comes a challenge. Every single time you have solved for something, there'll be a new challenge that will hit you. Am I right? Has it been there? All of us are musicians. We have known how it is. So we came up with phase 2, the music editor workflow. We changed the same thing, but we introduced a music editor. And I'll talk about what a music editor does in a few minutes, right? But a music editor has now been deployed in Netflix titles. Music editors are so very good in how they can crunch timelines, turn things around very quickly, and how efficiently they can get compositions to our doors at the best possible time, right? In the best possible quality too. Okay, I'll move aside. You guys want to take pictures? Are we good with this? But you see something that I've added over here in the left part? The editorial department. Because music editors have to talk to editors, because editors have to talk to editors. VFX editors, sound editors, everybody talk to editors, right? Fundamentally, everything comes from the editorial department to you, and then you start putting it together. When there are VFX editors, when there are sound editors, why shouldn't there be music editors, Baba? Simple question, right? So this is what we did very recently. And has it gotten better? Is the first question that always comes to us. I love this quote by Alan Turing. Sometimes it's the people who no one imagines anything of who do the things that no one can imagine. That's our music supervisors and editors that we've been able to put out there, right? We've put them across multiple challenges. We've put them across some of the most difficult timelines, crunch budgets, but they have come out fantastic in what they've done. And every single time a production goes to music supervisors or a music editor, they come back saying, "Bhai, wo kaun tha? Can I please work with them again? That's not for a Netflix project. No, I just want to contract them outside." The moment you taste what it can do to your workflows, it changes the way it approaches, right? But we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We aren't. Then what happens? The second question that comes to us all the time is, right? Do you guys agree? Why fix something that is not broken? Why should we fix something that's not broken? Everything has been working fine. All you guys have been working great. Content's been put out there. Broadcast mein to chal raha hai. Everything has been going great. Then why is Netflix doing all these things? You know the answer? Anybody? Efficiency. Great. That's one part of it. Apart from that? Fantastic. That's a great thing. But I have a more simplistic answer that I love. Just because something is working great doesn't mean it can't be improved. Remember, for you to grow, you have to go through difficult conversations, difficult situations, and difficult people. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going through difficult conversations, difficult situations, difficult people every single day to ensure that music supervision, music editorial is the North Star of what this industry can do for musicians who have been trying to look out for other means of making money. This, in the West, is a very constant way of making money. Am I right? You've heard music supervisors. Netflix, in fact, has one of the most applauded music supervisors in our ecosystem called Alexandra Petsavis. She worked on Riverdale, a whole bunch of other things. She's one of the Academy Award-winning music supervisors who's part of Netflix now. then why isn't India looking at it? Why isn't Asia Pacific looking at music supervisors? Because we just want to go with the flow of things. We don't want to take ownership of certain things, have a person to kind of dedicatedly think. Suddenly, now there's an insurgence of post supervisors, am I right? You guys have heard about post supervisors? Suddenly there's an insurgence of VFX supervisors, am I right? Why shouldn't there be an insurgence of music supervisors? Music is one of the most least talked, till it's very important. Till the director fees is very important. It is the most sparsely talked about asset, not a tool, as part of a content. That's how we want to deal with it in Netflix. That's how we have been dealing with it all this while. Any questions? That clear, huh? Okay. We'll get in the roles and scope of work of music supervisors. Simple 4 things is what we have told them to do. Creative, legal, operational relationship. Very simple, right? Seems very fundamental, right? Everybody can do this, right? If you're a musician, you're already a creative. You already know what creativity means, right? If you're a music business person, you already know the operations and legal part of it, right? Relationship to ban jata hai. Chai coffee peene se ban jata hai relationship. But then let's get a little bit more deeper into what this means. The creative involvement for a music supervisor starts at the script level. You need to start reading scripts as a music supervisor. Why do you need to read scripts? Because that's when you're able to understand what is there in that, Babu. Even if it's a draft script, even if it's a work in progress, you tend to read a script and understand, acha, isme aisa music hone wala hai shayad. As creative folks, you would be able to read it. As composers, you'll be able to read it. And you'll be able to say, acha, this is the palette in which the sonic space is for this place. So when I started this in 2021, I read 60 scripts and its iteration in a matter of 4 months, and I was almost dead. And then I was like, somebody please come and help me, and then I hired Divya. And then Divya was also troubled, then we hired Rahul, and then later Bhavani came into play. The idea is that script reading is one of the most core pieces. What is executed from the script is not the same as what is written on the script, right? There is always almost 40 to 50% difference. But what you get to understand is, are there songs? Are there licensing? Are there scores? Are they going to be humming, whistlings, radio plays? There's suddenly somebody is singing a very famous song in the background and walking away. It's written in the script, right? Many times. Now, what will that give you as a cue, as a music supervisor, is that, acha, idhar kuch aane wala hai, let me budget for it. The moment you don't have a data-driven creative breakdown, you will not be able to come to critical assumptions. Your critical assumptions are number of songs, number of pieces of score, excuse me, the creative ideas behind what the songs and scores are going to be yielding, who should be working on this, how much money am I supposed to put this, how long is it going to take? That is your critical assumption. Am I making sense? Have you guys thought about these things before? Why not? I heard one yes. Many of you might not have, because again, we are conditioned to work. हाँ यार जुगाड़ कर लेंगे, देख लेंगे. But why not put a method to the madness, right? In creativity, you're looking at composer considerations. Music supervisors actually play a large role now in recommending composers who should be working on the title. Objectively, not subjectively. इसने मेरा मामा का बच्चा है, बहुत अच्छा बंदा है, सस्ते में कर लेगा, है ना? आप लेके बस एक चांस के it's not that way. We are looking at not sasta. We are looking at quality over quantity. We want the best quality. We have proved it in the past 2 years of what we have put out as Netflix. We have proved every single time, every single title, we have been able to give hits. As a score, as songs, we have been able to put out Colors, Class, Mismatch Season 2, your SAQs and Mehmans, right? Guns and Gulab, Friday Night Plan. Every one of these things have been a hit. It's not just because the songs are hit. The entire soundtrack consists of 2 parts, the score and the song. Both of them work well together. Remember that. It has to be cohesive. It has to be one go. It cannot be like, songs acha hai, score acha nahi hai. Creative sync licensing, which means at an early stage when you read the script, you understand what are the things, sync licensing that you know. You know there is a very interesting Michael Jackson song sitting somewhere, which needs Ram Prasad's kidneys, which he's not going to give away. So probably let's go and suggest that we should not be stealing somebody's kidneys to go buy that song. having that initial conversation, when you read a script itself, you'll be able to understand ki Baba, ye written hai script mein. Let's go push back on this, saying that let's not do this. Here are 10 alternatives which are more budget friendly. Okay? But if the creativity is so important, then you start conversations very, very early in stage. And if there is lip sync, remember those are called as production clearances. When there is lip sync on camera during capture, you need to clear it before it's shot. Those are called as production clearances. This has to be done before you guys get into shoot. Last but not the least, crewing up, because music supervisor also needs additional help. That's when they get into getting a music coordinator for themselves, if they want to have somebody else to help them with running and data delivery and management. If not, they also find a music editor, right? Music supervisors are connected very well into the industry to the point that they know who are the best people that they can work with and get the best results out there, right? That's just the creative involvement. Operational involvement, project setup, budgeting, timelines, deliverables, quality check, cue sheet management. All music to your ears. Any questions on this? What is project setup? You literally need to see the project from inception till the delivery, till the end, right? आधे में छोड़ के मैं निकल जा रहा हूँ, आप कोई deliver कर लो नहीं बोल सकते ना? That's not how it works. You really have to drill down into completing everything end to end. Remember that. Somebody who owns, composers do 5 different projects at the same time. Midway in the project, the composers have to leave because they have to take care of another project. Who is the person who's going to be responsible to deliver from the composer side? That's your music supervisor now. They work with the composers team to get whatever they have to get, prepare for the delivery, ensure that everything is in place. Guys, you can come forward. There are seats up here. Deliverables, Netflix has fantastic deliverables list that we've always shared out earlier. So you'll be hearing about deliverables. Quality check. What do you mean by quality check? Anybody? Why do we do QC? What happens between reference to final? कभी-कभार reference बैठ जाता है final में. And then what happens? Somebody comes knocking at your door. भाई तूने clear नहीं किया, पैसा दे. We don't want that. So music supervisors and the music editors go through the final out to ensure that there is no reference music that's creeping out. There are no uncleared pieces of music that are sitting in the final. So quality check is a very big part that we've been pushing. Relationship management. Key production stakeholders. Music supervisors have to work with directors, producers, showrunners, post-production supervisors, record labels, composers, everything, literally song producers. They are the central hub for relationship. They're your project managers. Project management in IT, they are the ones who take care of everything. They talk to leadership, they talk to the common folks, they take care of the entire thing. That's exactly what these guys are doing at a musical level. They have high understanding of what is required. What is left? Where's David? You're the one that is left. Negotiations, contracts, and sync licensing. Ensuring that all this paperwork, every contract that has to be executed in right time is done before the launch of a particular title. We have ensured this. We have never had a single problem ever since we started. We put checks and balances in place. We put people in place so that there is somebody to ensure that there is proper timeline-based deliverables. Now, I think it's a good time for me to show who these guys are. Here are the 5 people that we've been working very consistently. Right? Give them a big applause. I think a couple of them are here. There's Alex Sethi right there. Sandesh sitting right in front over here. Anurag Shankar, who's not here. Faustin, where is Faustin? There he is. There's Faustin. He's the rainmaker. And then there is Malini Hariharan. There are 5 of them at this point of time. We have a few more. Again, they haven't delivered yet, so we'll not show their faces. But these guys have been making magic happen for us. Right? Every single thing that I've spoken about this time, all this while, is what these guys have been doing. Alec delivered Guns and Gulab. Alec is the person who delivered Guns and Gulab. Foster is the guy who fought through Class Season 1. Right? Sandesh is the one who delivered Friday Night Plan, and he's working on a bunch of things more with us. Right? Think about it, how proud I am to just say these guys' names, just because these guys have been the backbone of how we have been trying to establish proper workflows in this industry. Putting method to madness. Any questions so far? Shall I push forward? In a nutshell, the music supervisor's roles and responsibility. Boom, there you go. Everything has to be done. Everything will be done. Everything has been done all this while. At a creative level, at an operational level, right? I've combined legal and relationship as a part of it, but for Netflix, these guys have always done this at every level. So who is the music editor then? Music editor is somebody who comes in as early as your post-production starts. When your production is complete, is when the music editorial starts. You know why? Can somebody tell me why? Why should they start so late? Why does the music supervisor start at a script level while the music editor starts only at a cut? Anybody? Sorry? Fresh ears. Correct. In content, editing starts only when the visuals are ready. Very fundamental, right? Unless you have a visual story medium to say what it is, how are you going to edit anything into it? Be it the film editor, the series editor, or the music editor, or the VFX editor, or the sound editor. Everything is based on what is captured. So spotting is the first phase of what music editors do, and what it is it's a simple session where your directors, showrunners, producers, composers, music supervisors, assistant editors, and editors sit together, mark out what your in and out points are in a piece of content. What does that do? Can you tell me what does that do when you mark it out? Before you start composition or anything, what does that do? There you go. Exactly, you guys are saying the same thing. Identify how much music is required. With that, what can you do? Duration, budget, timelines, thank you so much, which means by the time I'm marking my spotting session is done, I know how much licensed music is required, how much original songs, how many original scores are there, done. Then get it, disperse it out. That's your music supervisor's job. The music editor starts running point on this. They are creative and technical. All you musicians out there, you can become music editors, but you need to know Pro Tools. Without Pro Tools, you cannot do anything in this industry. Because that's where your final mixing format is going to be sitting at. Unless you're doing in Cubase or Nuendo. I'm not judging anybody. But I'm just saying. This is where you do it 3 times. And technically, you do something called as a spotting on a script also sometimes, because that's called as paper composition. That's what we call as paper composition in the US. Which means by reading the script, I know that this is where it is going to be coming, this is where it's starting, this is where it's ending. I'm able to do that, and then you do it in rough cut again, and then you do it at picture lock again. The moment picture is locked, you know exactly where the timelines are. But before the picture lock, it gives you a great educated assumption of where things are going to be, right? Which leads to the second phase. Spotting, right? What is it? Watching a cut and decide where the music is going to be. Who is it? All these people. The music editor will run point to maintain this and maintain notes, right? Remember that. Now this leads to temping after this. What is temping? Don't read that, just tell me. Reference music, thank you so much. We've called it reference for donkey years, right? In Hollywood, it's called as temping. What it is you take pre-existing music, scores, songs, production music libraries, what else and whatnot, slap it onto the video. What does it do? It gives the director and the showrunner a clear-cut understanding of where the sonic space it should be. And let's say you're working with a remote composer, you're sending them the reference so that they understand what is the vision of the director. Now, in Hollywood, every single time that I have sent this to a composer, or they have sent it to me, it gives me an assumption of how it should go. It's not about how it should be. Don't copy it off of that. The composers come in to leverage that and make it better. Composers don't, it's not for matching. Ye tone matching ke liye nahi bula rahe na hum. We want them to make it better. That's what has happened. Here is also, that's the idea. The reference problem is temp love, because directors also start loving it and they'll say, bhai वैसा ही चाहिए मुझे. Bhai BPM क्या है उसका? What is the key on it? Who is the singer on it? ये वो तबलिस्ट को बुलाना, वही groove बजाते हैं. Then it gets very close into David, plagiarism. Sorry David, I didn't mean to pick on you. eventually, the temp music should be done even before the composition starts. The idea is, with the temp music, you can send us cuts which will give us an idea as to where you're going. Right? Your composition doesn't have to start, but then it gives streaming platforms like us a clear-cut idea as to where the music is going to be looking at. How is the music going to travel? And what is the possibility of what? If there is a mismatch of alignment, we'll say, bhai, this is not working here. And we don't say, what do we don't say? The famous dialogue in Bollywood. Maza nahi aa raha hai. We don't say maza nahi aa raha hai. We actually say what is not working. Is it the tempo? Is it the instrumentation? Is it the tone? Is it the genre? Whatever it is. People in the back, again, there are seats in the front. You feel free to come and sit in the front. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is what is called as a temporary cue sheet that we have told our composers to work with our music editors to create. Now, I'm going to walk you through both these things really quick, and I'm going to tell you what it looks like. Can we do this exercise really quick? Yeah? Within this, read this part. I'm going to give you 10, 15 seconds. And then read this and tell me what it is. What do you infer out of it? I'm going to sit on the side. Is it visible for everybody? People in the back, is it visible? Any takeaways? What this is? Correct. But what does it tell you there? It tells you that episode 1 is very heavy on action and tension and ominous, and it's going to be dark, right? Your references are Dunkirk, Mozart of the Jungle, right? Hits and impacts and constant tension builders and strings. It shows that this is how a score is going to be for the episode 1. Now, what happens to episode 2 then? It completely changes now. This is what I told about as paper composition. The moment you do a cue sheet as quick as this, you will exactly know how the music is going to travel. The composer has the clarity, the director has the clarity, you have the clarity as a music editor and the music supervisor. You're done. Your clear-cut approach is set in stone right there. Am I right? Any questions before I move forward? Yes?
Can you give an example of how this might come into play? Like a short example.
Okay.
Like you take a movie and then how will you communicate?
Tell me a movie.
Finding Nemo.
Okay. I'm going to give you 5 movie names from which I'm going to temp. Okay? Or I'm giving you references. The movies are Tenet, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Kisi Ki Bai Kisi Ki Jaan, okay? And Sutta Kadai. 5 movies. Do you think any of these 5 movies work well with Finding Nemo?
The Barbie one is closer to that.
Which
the
one?
Barbie one.
The Barbie one is closer, right?
Yeah.
So you know that something works there and other 4 don't.
Yeah.
Knowing what doesn't work is also data, bro. Knowing what works and doesn't work is half the battle. Am I right? For musicians, it's half the battle. You guys don't. What is running in the director's mind? Put it on a paper, you know exactly if it's working or not. Done. You hold them accountable. The director holds you accountable for this also. The creative vision is sorted. But if I had told you Finding Nemo and I'd given you Toy Story,
okay,
I'd given you Up, I'd given you...
They were very close.
You see what I'm doing there?
Yeah.
The moment I get closer to the creative brief of what the director has in mind, then we are already in the space.
Okay.
That is what a music editor does. When you're an editor, what is going on with you is that you're going through hours of footage, hours and hours of footage. You're already fatigued about the fact that you have to cut this into a beautiful story. And then later you have to search music. Among tens of thousands of tracks, you're already fatigued beyond a point. Now you have to find temp tracks. What if you had somebody who's a specialist who understands what a creative brief is and get these things to you?
You know, the interesting thing is that all of the movies, if you want to see Up and all these are all Disney Pixar movies. So you will have to go to the studio to understand that direction.
Not necessarily.
So, yeah.
I'm just telling you. See, I'm talking from a director's perspective.
Okay, okay.
Right? I'm not going to a studio perspective. I'm not talking about Netflix perspective. Everybody is hired to support the director's creative vision. Never forget that. The moment you forget that and you think you're larger than life, you're already done.
Cool.
You have to be a team player. You have to work within the team of what the music team entails. Never forget that. That's so fundamental. You can be an independent artist. You might have written such a great song that will work for an OTT platform, but don't pitch it as an OTT platform. Na? Pitch it as a song that I've written. It could sit in OTT, it could sit in here, there, wherever. It could be in TikTok becoming viral tomorrow. But the matter of fact is, the moment you start putting creative behind visuals or understanding how the vision is going to be, you are getting clearer picture of how to approach this. Am I making sense? Yes. Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
So during background music, sometimes I get Hans Zimmer ka reference with a penny budget.
Mera music.
Ah. And they want that exactly ऐसा ही चाहिए.
Exactly. But the beauty is, the question is, what do you like in that? Have you ever asked the question, ऐसा ही चाहिए, उसमें से आपको क्या चाहिए? आपको उनका drones चाहिए, pulses चाहिए, brams चाहिए, key चाहिए, tempo चाहिए, pitching चाहिए. What do you want from that? Have you asked the question?
इतने में तो चला जाएगा वो इतना तो उसको पता
See, that is the whole point, na? That is where you need to open. See, chala jayega is very simple for us to say, it is the easiest way out, bro. But how have we been, as Netflix, been able to deliver this then? वो डायरेक्टर भी निकल जाएगा ना, हमारा ये सारे ये ज्ञान बांटते बांटते लोग तो निकल जाते हैं ना. You could have also left after this also, but you're interested because you know how what valuable conversation it can be.
somebody say इतना energy चाहिए but maybe
Energy. So what signifies energy? Is it the pulse? Is it the drone? Is it the texture? Is it the voice? Is it the key? Is it the tempo? Again, these are quantifiable data for musicians. For music composers, they can, acha, yeah, this is 120, he's asking for 135. Okay, chalo, let me increase the tempo and see how it works. Decode the director by having these conversations. Get deeper into their mind. It takes a simple conversation for you to get into it. Am I right? The question is, you have never asked these questions. Have you ever?
sometimes some directors are
Chalta hai,
musically
chalta hai. It's okay to say no also. I'm not going to
no,
judge
but
you.
some directors are musically inclined but too many
Great.
of them are not.
See, that's the beauty of it. If the director is musically inclined, they're going to answer you better. If the director is not, you have to get the answer from them. They are the creatives. They're going to think at the top level of how the entire movie is going to look and feel, rather than what is the pulse that you're looking at. Is it Omnisphere patch called Animoy Piano? Or is it contact mein, stray light mein some random pulse? Or is it going to be a movement plugin? Whatever. They don't care about those things. They only care about how it sounds and how it feels. Right? And we'll talk about that really quick. How much time do I have? 5 minutes? Are yaar. Anyway, fundamentally, these workflows are there to help the composer to do what they do best, which is composition. Am I right? All these people, music supervisors, music editors, are there to help the composers to do what they do best, focus on the creative. Right? It also helps with the timelines a lot. Because when you want somebody to own something, they will come through when you want them to. You have to empower them to get there. Consider, composers out here, start considering saying, hey, is there a music supervisor on this project? Anybody working on a title, are there music editors that can help me? Have you, please go ask these questions outside. As much as Netflix is pushing for it, you need to push for it if you want the change to happen quicker. Externally, you are the forces and voices. Internally, we are the forces and voices. Fair enough? So redefining the music ecosystem really quick. This is your music ecosystem externally, the music team outside, the score composers, the song producers, music editors, and music supervisors. Start talking to each other and backwards. Communication is the key to success. Don't forget the film editors, because music editors have to work with the film editors, which means cross-functionally you have to make friends with everybody. That's what we have done on a day-to-day basis. For content, this is the most important piece that we're looking at. Never forget this. Content, the music in content is very different from music in life. Right? So, do we agree? Yes or no? Can I hear you guys? Yes, sir. Kone boss. Do we agree about this also? Yes? Do we agree this? Am I right? It's not an easy job. It is not an easy job. None of this is an easy job. Being a creative, being a liaison, or being a project manager, none of this is ever easy in life. You have to figure out another formula, and I'm going to leave that with you, most probably. CQ is equal to EQ plus IQ. Your creative quotient is always equivalent to your emotional quotient plus your intelligence quotient. I'm not saying each of them only have that. I'm saying this is a combination of how the music team should function externally. If you guys are able to work together as one cohesive unit, you will start solving for things that have never been solved before. You will start seeing things change much faster than where they were before. So start becoming the advocates for the next generation of music supervisors, music editors, out here in this room and beyond. I think that's pretty much what I had. Yeah, well, the music supervision program, that with a number of people, I showed that corner photo because we've hired both of them. And we had Ajay Atul come into the office, and we actually had a great closing ceremony. And the music editing program. This is John Warhurst, who won an Academy Award for the Bohemian Rhapsody. He's currently working on the Bob Marley film. This is Allegra D'Souza, who's my classmate from USC. She's a professor in USC. We studied together. She did the Meg, Hobbs and Shaw, and Dungeons and Dragons that just came out on Amazon Prime, if I'm not wrong. These guys are the music editors. They have won awards. They've done these things, right? We do these workshops once in a while at Netflix, and then we had the infamous A.R. Rahman on a call, and bless us to be able to push this further and help the industry much more. That's pretty much what I have, folks. Thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to answer if you have any questions. Oh, wow, okay. Yes. I think he start first. Yes. You.
Check. So a lot of times when the composer finishes the score or the songs, feedback comes from the director as well as the producer, music supervisor, maybe executive producer. There are 3-4 different opinions. So how does a composer tackle that?
The composer has to take the average of everything. And most importantly, if and only if all the feedbacks are valuable. Fundamentally, you have to answer only one feedback. Whose is that?
Director.
There you go. You answered the question. Look at the director's vision, right? And then you have another power called the studio. The studio might say that this is not working, but we will help you by saying what doesn't work in that. So always prioritize. Cool. I think you had a
One more question.
Yes.
In the West, especially in Hollywood, we see a lot of sound OSTs getting recognition. Why is that not happening in India?
It's because you don't have this team. You don't have the music team in India. You've always dealt as lone wolves, and you've only worked by yourself. Start getting a team together and trust your team. You will start getting more recognition. We have done it once a decade. This is the same question I asked Rahman sir. Sir, ye kyun ho raha hai 10 saal mein ek baar? And he said, we don't have the right team, na. That's why we are hell-bent on building it. I think we'll pass along.
Yeah, hi. My question is related to the cue sheet.
Yeah.
So everything is like graphed out for you. You know exactly what you have to do and the kind of music. But what about silence? Is that defined?
No. The
in
cue sheet is
between?
only for the places where music exists, not for silences.
Because silence is something that's highly understated. I think people
Absolutely.
don't understand the importance of sound design.
Absolutely.
So
So
when-
cue sheet is fundamentally only for the music cues that have been written for that particular content.
Okay.
Okay? Silences and dialogue-centric things are never covered in that.
All right.
Cool?
Okay, thanks.
I think she had, and then he had a question, and then I think he has a question too. If nothing else, if the time is up, last one question, then I'll be outside to answer more questions in case you guys want to talk more.
In India, most of the time, directors come on board with music directors.
Sure.
Then how do this supervision works?
Still, when it comes to Netflix, we say, who's going to deliver all these things? We ask a whole checklist of things, and we tell them, see, if the music director comes who's a tenured person, we know that they come with a team of people who support them. What if the music director is somebody who's very new? They don't have the mechanics. That's when we want to empower them with the right people to support them. We always ask the question saying, who's the right person to help this? who's going to be running point, etc., etc. Unless we ask the questions, you never get the answers. I'm telling you again and again and again, ask the questions when you have to ask the questions. Don't shy away from asking questions because it's the director or the producer, because you're going to lose out on the most valuable information that can help you multifold. Cool? In that note, I'm going to be stepping outside. I'm so sorry. They're going to kick me out otherwise. Appreciate your time again. Thank you so much.